Tonight, several developing stories as we come on the air. Severe storms firing up right now from the Carolinas to New England. Car prices going up as new tariffs kick in. And breaking news, a small plane crashing in a Southern California neighborhood. Late details just coming in. First, the potentially dangerous storms. More than 25 million Americans on alert tonight for severe weather from South Carolina all the way to Maine. Hail, wind, and pounding rain in the forecast. The Northeast bracing for days of wet weather. Our weather team timing it all out. A possible break in the trade war. China signaling it's open to negotiations with the U.S. over the crushing tariffs. This comes as a new tariff on auto parts takes effect, raising fears of a big price hike for new and used cars. President Trump downplaying the short-term effects of the tariffs as some companies scramble to reroute how they ship goods around the world. The announcement that stunned Berkshire Hathaway shareholders. Legendary investor Warren Buffett, now 94, planning to step down as head of the company that he turned into a trillion-dollar conglomerate. Buffett's warning about tariffs and who he wants to replace him. Also tonight, travel plans disrupted. The staffing problems at one of the busiest airports in the Northeast. Flights canceled and delayed, passengers missing their connections. An Ohio man charged with aggravated murder for allegedly running down a deputy. Police calling it a calculated attack. The suspect is the father of a teenager shot and killed by an officer one day earlier. Could the SpaceX headquarters become a new city? The vote that could change a tiny Texas town. A dramatic rescue in the Amazon. 5 people pulled to safety after being stuck in an Amazon swamp filled with alligators. And America Strong tonight, some of the top figures in sports, including our own Michael Strahan, teaming up in the fight against pediatric cancer.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us on this Saturday. I'm Whit Johnson. Several developing stories as we come on the air. That breaking news, a small plane crash in a Southern California neighborhood, and a major announcement from Warren Buffett tonight. But we begin here with severe storms on the move. More than 25 million Americans from South Carolina to Maine on alert for dangerous weather, damaging wind gusts, large hail, and tornadoes, all possible in the coming hours. And it's stemming from the same system that's been pounding the South, making travel on this Texas highway treacherous. Motorists in Tennessee encountering major delays as roads flooded in Chattanooga. More flash flooding is possible as the system moves up the coast. Let's get right to meteorologist Dani Beckstrom from our New York station WABC. So Dani, where is the greatest threat right now?
With a large swath of the East Coast in the threat zone tonight, with strong to severe storms from South Carolina up through New England. Let's get right to the radar, where we see heavy rain and thunderstorms impacting weekend plans across much of the East. But cities like Washington, D.C. and Philadelphia are under a severe thunderstorm watch tonight, with the risk for damaging winds and large hail. Timing it out, the heavy rain continues along the coast tonight before focusing more on the Northeast Sunday. The wet weather pattern holds for the next several days, bringing beneficial rain to many of the areas dealing with drought conditions and wildfires, but some downpours could also lead to localized flash flooding. Whit?
All right, Dani Beckstrom will stay on top of it. Thank you. There are signs tonight that China may be softening its position in the trade war with the United States. Beijing is said to be evaluating an American offer to negotiate. This comes as a new round of auto tariffs goes into effect. Here's ABC senior White House correspondent Selina Wang.
For the first time since President Trump slapped steep tariffs on goods from China, tonight new signs they may be open to negotiations with the White House. Beijing says it's evaluating possible trade talks after senior U.S. officials reached out through relevant parties multiple times. This comes after Beijing repeatedly flat out denied Trump's claims that the U.S. was talking to China and that he had spoken to Chinese leader Xi Jinping. But Beijing insists Trump's staggering 145% tariffs must be eliminated first. China's Commerce Ministry says if the U.S. doesn't, it means that the United States has no sincerity at all and will further damage the mutual trust between both sides. The standoff continues as tariffs keep piling on. Starting today, Trump's 25% tariffs on most car parts go into effect, after he already imposed the same tariff rate on imported cars last month. The impact is sweeping. Even cars made here in the USA rely on parts from around the world. Economists warn this could raise car prices by thousands of dollars. General Motors CEO warning the tariffs will cost some $4 to $5 billion.
When we look at the overall $4 to $5 billion impact from tariffs that we shared, that is what we know now based on the clarity that we're given.
The president appearing to downplay fears the country is headed towards a recession.
Look, everything's okay. What we are, I said, this is a transition period. I think we're going to do fantastically.
And today, America's most well-known investor criticizing Trump's trade policy.
Trade should not be a weapon. We should be looking to trade with the rest of the world, and we should do what we do best, and they should do what they do best.
The Trump administration also closing a trade loophole that allowed goods valued at $800 or less to enter the U.S. tax-free. Those packages now face 120% tariffs or a $100 package fee. That fee increases to $200 on June 1st.
People are worried, even some people who voted for you saying, I didn't sign up for this. So how do you answer those concerns?
Well, they did sign up for it, actually, and this is what I campaigned on.
And when it comes to the U.S.-China trade war, both countries are feeling the pain. America's economy shrank for the first time since the pandemic as companies rushed to import goods to get ahead of those tariffs. And manufacturing in China dropped to the lowest level in 16 months. Whit?
Selina Wang, thank you. Now to the big announcement today rocking the financial world and stunning shareholders of Berkshire Hathaway. Warren Buffett saying he's stepping down as CEO at the end of this year. Let's bring in ABC's Phil Lipoff. And Phil, the 94-year-old billionaire, kept this a closely guarded secret until now.
Closely guarded secret, Whit, you are right. And he is announcing he's retiring at the end of the year. And as you would imagine, it was a shock to many, including his shareholders at this meeting. Only his two children, board members at Berkshire Hathaway, knew that this was coming, blindsiding even his vice chairman, Greg Abel. Buffett saying, quote, the time has arrived during that annual investors meeting. 94 years old, as you point out, Whit. Buffett has served as CEO for 60 years. That is the longest serving chief executive officer of an S&P 500 company, and notably, many believed he would work until the end of his life. The crowd of investors reacted with a long pause and a mix of sadness, of course, and disbelief following the retirement news. Buffett has said he plans to recommend Abel as the next CEO. Whit.
A big change, that is for sure. Phil Lipoff, thank you. An airport scare for travelers in Savannah, Georgia. Authorities cleared the terminal while they investigated a security threat there. Passengers told to expect delays. This comes amid mounting delays and cancellations at one of the nation's busiest travel hubs, Newark Liberty Airport. Here's ABC's Morgan Norwood.
Travel turmoil inside the Savannah Hilton Head International Airport tonight as passengers seen scrambling with luggage in tow evacuated while officers investigate a security threat. The delays not just in the southeast. For the sixth day in a row, tensions mounting at Newark Liberty Airport, one of the nation's busiest hubs. In a letter to customers Friday, the United Airlines CEO saying more than 20% of Newark's air traffic controllers walked off the job this week after two equipment outages, forcing the airline to cut 35 round-trip flights per day, starting right now, and with no end in sight. Today, according to the FAA, delayed flights arriving at Newark are nearly 2 hours late. Odette Fortier's flight to Greece delayed. She says she received a text from United about the air traffic shortage.
We can't go another day. It has to be today.
So cancellation is not an option?
That's not an option.
The walkout follows an equipment failure that sent multiple controllers on weeks-long medical leave. Staffers calling the incident a traumatic experience. The FAA had already warned that runway construction and a shortage of controllers could cause significant delays at the airport for months. More than 350 flights delayed on Friday alone.
And we're getting pretty close to that number of delays at Newark right now. The FAA says they're working to stabilize staffing, but with summer travel right around the corner, the pressure is on and the clock is ticking. Whit?
Yeah, still a big concern ahead. Morgan Norwood, thank you. We turn now to that breaking news just coming in. A small plane has crashed into a neighborhood in Southern California. ABC's Melissa Adon joins us now from L.A. with the latest. Melissa, what more are you learning about this?
With first responders rushing to a neighborhood in Simi Valley after a small plane came crashing down, damaging at least 2 homes. Dozens of firefighters with the Ventura County Fire Department arriving once they saw a small plane on fire. They were able to extinguish the flames, and officials say the pilot was the only person on the small engine aircraft and did not survive that crash. Now, no one on the ground was injured, and a witness describing to us a scary scene. He says he was doing yard work as he heard the plane circling and coming down louder and louder. Once he and his wife ran to their patio door, that's when he said he heard the explosion. The NTSB and the FAA are now investigating.
Melissa Don with those late details. Thank you. Next tonight, authorities in Ohio say the man who allegedly rammed his car into a sheriff's deputy, killing him, did so intentionally. The suspect appearing in court today is the father of an 18-year-old killed in an officer-involved shooting on Thursday. The suspect charged with aggravated murder. Here's ABC's Christian Cordero.
Tonight, authorities say the shooting of an 18-year-old captured on police body cam is connected to the death of an Ohio deputy after that teen's father allegedly hit him with a car a day later. Prosecutors say the attack was calculated and premeditated. Cincinnati PD responding to reports of a stolen Kia at an apartment building Thursday morning. 4 suspects then fleeing police. Among them, 18-year-old Ryan Hinton. Body camera shows Hinton fall as he tries to run away. Police say they heard a metal clinking sound they believe was a gun.
He's got a gun! He's got a gun! On your right! On your right! He's got a gun!
As Hinton emerges from behind a dumpster, authorities say another officer firing 4 or 5 shots.
The officer says that he saw the suspect point the firearm at him.
Yes. Just 6 seconds passed between when police arrived and gunshots rang out. Officials say they tried administering medical aid. Hinton was struck twice and died. Investigators saying this gun was recovered from the scene allegedly found in Hinton's possession. On Friday, a day after that shooting and 2 hours after the Hinton family reviewed the body camera footage, according to the family's lawyer, a driver crashing a car into a Hamilton County deputy directing traffic near a commencement ceremony, killing him. The suspect, authorities say, is Ryan Hinton's father, Rodney Hinton Jr. Hinton's attorney calling the officer's death a horrific tragedy. At his first court appearance today, Hinton walked through a room packed with law enforcement. He's now charged with aggravated murder. The Hamilton County Sheriff says the deputy's death was a tremendous loss. Hinton Jr. is currently being held on no bail. His bond hearing scheduled for Tuesday.
Christian Cordero, thank you. Now to the escalating battle between President Trump and Harvard University. The school now firing back at the president's threats to end its tax-exempt status, which is granted to thousands of universities across the country. Here's ABC's Alex Prochet.
Tonight, Harvard University signaling it's ready for a fight if President Trump moves forward with his threat to strip the school of its tax-exempt status. A university spokesperson telling ABC News there's no legal basis for the move, adding the unlawful use of this instrument more broadly would have grave consequences for the future of higher education in America. On Friday morning, the president posting on social media, "We are going to be taking away Harvard's tax-exempt status. It's what they deserve." An unprecedented move he's hinted at for weeks.
Tax-exempt status, I mean, it's a privilege. It's really a privilege, and it's been abused by a lot more than Harvard.
Federal law prohibits any president from ordering the IRS to conduct investigations. But sources tell ABC News the IRS had been considering revoking Harvard's tax-exempt status before Trump's public comments. The administration has already frozen more than $2.2 billion in federal funds to Harvard after the university rejected a series of demands from the administration amid what critics have called a far-reaching assault on academic freedom in higher education. The Trump administration demanded that Harvard end its diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives, reform its admissions and hiring processes, and submit to monitoring by federal regulators, in addition to changing programs that they claimed have egregious records of anti-Semitism and other bias. University President Alan Garber, who is Jewish, acknowledged there are valid concerns about rising anti-Semitism. Harvard released the findings of its own task force to investigate anti-Semitism on campus earlier this week. The report detailed many Jewish students saying they were bullied or even signaled out by instructors in the year following the October 7th Hamas attack. But it also emphasized that just as this report came from Harvard, so should any resolutions and reforms. And when Harvard has filed a lawsuit against the Trump administration, arguing that that funding freeze is unconstitutional and a violation of the First Amendment. Whit?
Alex Prochet for us tonight. Thank you. Overseas now, and the countdown to the conclave to choose the next pope. Firefighters at the Vatican making adjustments to the chimney that has been installed on the roof of the Sistine Chapel. White smoke from that chimney will signal the selection of a new pontiff. ABC's Inez de la Catera with the anticipation from Vatican City tonight.
Tonight, preparations underway inside the Sistine Chapel in Vatican City, where in just a few days, cardinals will convene to elect a new pope. Workers setting up the stove where cardinals will place their ballots to be burned. The white smoke from the chimney letting the world know the Catholic Church has a new leader. The Vatican saying 131 of the 133 elector cardinals are now believed to be in Rome, experiencing a kind of rock star status, mobbed by reporters as they leave their general congregations. Their every move making headlines around the world. We sat down with Canadian Cardinal Czerny, who will be voting in the upcoming conclave. He pushed back on the notion that this is a complex negotiation of sorts.
This is not a political convention. We're not dealing and wheeling in order to get to create a consensus. We're entering spiritually, prayerfully, having listened to one another as deeply as we can.
Czerny saying he's not seeing much unity amongst the cardinals, yet urging the faithful not to worry.
Pray and be hopeful, and when we discover who is the new Holy Father, let's all rally.
Among those being floated as potential contenders, Italian Cardinals Parolin and Zuppi, who were both close to Francis, as well as Cardinal of Jerusalem Pizzaballa, American Cardinal Prevost, and Philippines Cardinal Tagle. And across Italy, thousands of people are now playing Fanta Papa, a Catholic twist on fantasy football fueled by anticipation of the upcoming election. But remember, no one expected to see a Pope Francis. Whit.
And all of it gets underway next week. Inez de la Catera, thank you. There's still much more ahead on World News Tonight this Saturday. Voters are deciding right now if SpaceX headquarters should become its own city. And what a survival story. 5 people rescued after being forced to land in waters filled with alligators. Next tonight, voters in a small Texas community that's home to SpaceX are deciding whether to turn it into a city called Starbase. CEO Elon Musk first floated the idea 4 years ago. Some residents are worried their beach access could be cut off, but approval is expected. Most of the 283 people eligible to vote are SpaceX employees. Now to a dramatic rescue in the Amazon. Bolivia's Air Force pulled 5 people to safety. They were stuck on top of a plane for nearly 2 days after it made an emergency landing in a swamp. The waters were filled with alligators and at least one anaconda. Remarkably, no one was hurt. When we come back, crucial Game 7s in both the NBA and NHL. To the index now, big games for basketball and hockey fans in the NBA tonight. The LA Clippers are in Denver to face the Nuggets in Game 7 of their first-round NBA playoff series. And Houston and Golden State meet tomorrow in the deciding game of that series. And in the NHL, the Colorado Avalanche and Dallas Stars face off in Game 7 at 8 Eastern Time right here on ABC. And when we come back, some high-powered sports figures, including our own Michael Strahan, teaming up with everything on the line. Finally tonight, sports legends fighting cancer.
For 2 decades, the Dick Vitale Gala has brought together some of the biggest names in sports to raise awareness and funds for pediatric cancer research. Our own Michael Strahan among those honored last night for the way he and his daughter Isabella bravely shared her cancer journey.
It's been rough, it's been challenging.
After learning last year she had a brain tumor.
I saw my hero, my daughter, really rise up and be more than I ever knew she was. As an 18, turned 19 years old and had surgery one day for her 19th birthday.
Creator of the fund and host of the night, Dick Vitale, the legendary college basketball sportscaster who's called more than 1,000 games in his 45-year career. After his 4th bout with cancer, Vitale returning to the court in February.
The one and only Dick Vitale.
And last night, ESPN chairman Jimmy Pitaro making this surprise announcement.
We're going to extend you for another 2 years. So
The gala raised $12.5 million for pediatric cancer research this year, making the total raised over the past 20 years more than $105 million. An emotional Vitale vowing to keep fighting for the cause.
Until they bury me, to my last word, I will preach and beg and plead for dollars.
The legend, Dick Vitale. Good night.
Thank you for making World News Tonight with David Muir, America's most watched newscast.